Let's talk a little bit about the revolving door between our federal health agencies, and I would call it the capture by Big Pharma of our federal health agencies. The two individuals I just spoke of that testified before our committee in a roundtable in February 2020, they're now, one of them is director of Pfizer. Talk about how harmful that is in terms of the public trust and the public getting correct, honest, transparent information from our federal government.
Well, all I can say is there's an economic literature on the economics of regulation. And going all the way back to the ICC, was one of our first regulatory agencies, right up through the end of the last century, many studies showed that regulatory capture often happens, maybe not 100% capture, but the regulatory agencies tend to do the bidding of the industry they regulate. And this is well known, whether it's taxi cabs or railroads or trucking, this has happened over and over again. It is definitely a problem.
Do you find, have our federal health agencies been transparent and honest during this pandemic in general?
No, and I think I read something, I think I read an expose in the New York Times just the other day where people who worked in the CDC said they were not transparent and were angry that they couldn't speak freely to the public.
I agree with that. I've written over 50 oversight letters. I've gotten mostly non-response responses when I've got any response whatsoever. Just came from a finance committee hearing. We had Secretary Becerra in front of us. We, through FOIA, court-ordered FOIA, about 4,000 pages of HHS documents were released. A lot of Anthony Fauci, Francis Collins emails. Those were heavily redacted to FOIA. Congress is not subject to those redactions, so together with Senator Paul and I think Senator Hawley and two other of my colleagues, we wrote a letter, and there's a law that says if we, 5 of us, write a letter, those documents shall be turned over to us. Well, they haven't been. In the accommodation process, we targeted 400 pages. They didn't turn them over to us, but they did allow us to read 50 pages at a time in a reading room. Couldn't take copies, took notes. It's been over a year since the last 50 pages have not been turned over to us. A year. 50 pages, heavily redacted. And I asked Secretary Becerra to commit to turning those last 50 pages over to us. I certainly hope he does, but again, that just proves just one example of how the agencies simply have not been transparent and honest with the American public, and the American public has a right to know.